What is up, guys? My name is Quincy and this is QnA, the show where I take your questions from YouTube and Twitter and answer them here on this show in video format. And we're going to start with the questions from Twitter. This first one comes from Soja King, who says, considering Bill Walsh was on Paul Brown's coaching staff and Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, Urban Meyer all came through Cleveland and Ohio, what state has the #1 all-time coaching tree? So if we're tracing this back to universities, and anybody who spent time being a coach, preferably a head coach in Cleveland or in Ohio, I would think so. I would think the only other state that can really come close is maybe Florida with all the college coaches they've had. You can say Texas on some level, but the University of Texas, while a big name and a big brand of college football, has not historically dominated college football like an Alabama has or an Ohio State has. So it's hard to say that. So, yeah, it has to be Ohio. I mean, Ohio State alone, you got Bo Schembechler, Woody Hayes, Jim Tressel, so many great names that came out. Paul Brown was a coach at Ohio State before World War II. So many great names to come out the state of Ohio. Bill Belichick, Nick Saban was the defensive coordinator for the Browns in 1995. Again, yeah, Ohio has a rich football history, especially when it comes to coaches, which is unfortunate that the Browns have been in the situation that they have been in. But, yeah, as far as coaches go, and as far as a lot of football history goes, quite frankly, a lot of it, because of Ohio State, a lot of prominent football history has happened in Ohio. The next question comes from KCK, who says, to what degree do you see Kareem Hunt eating into Nick Chubbs' carries this season? I mean, I don't think he's going to eat into his carries that much. I think he'll take an amount. I think Nick Chubb will have less carries because instead of running Nick Chubb until he's gassed and then taking him out, you'll probably take him out 2 or 3 plays before he's gassed to keep him fresh throughout the season, which is fine if you're replacing him with Kareem Hunt. I think where Kareem Hunt's contribution is going to be on this team is going to be in the passing game. He and Rashard Higgins are probably going to have to fill that third wide receiver role in a lot of the sets that the Browns are going to do, especially if they're going to run 2 tight ends. That means that Kareem Hunt's probably going to be back there as a third option after he releases on a block or whatever. I think that's where Kareem Hunt's impact's going to be felt this season. Next question comes from Rhett B12, who says, thoughts on the news of Baker Mayfield being focused this offseason? Got to admit, it does feel a little gimmicky, but I trust 6. I mean, this is kind of a product of there being nothing to talk about right now, but there was a lot to do with Baker Mayfield saying that he's not trying to seek any attention when what he really said was, there's no attention directed his way, and he's not really inviting it this season, and he's fine without that attention. So he's going to move on and kind of just do the work is what he's saying. So, yeah, it is a little gimmicky, but given the amount of grief he got over some of the small things last year, he probably needs to do this to get some people off his back for the time being. This next question comes from Your Trash, who says, who is most likely to have a breakout season on the Browns this year? Odell Beckham. He's going to be healthy. He's going to be able to get a lot off of these play-action passes, a lot off of these routes. I mean, if you look at what they ran in Minnesota, they ran a lot of deep balls down there with Stephon Diggs that he was able to benefit off of. So I think Odell is going to be primed to have a breakout kind of return-to-form season, in my opinion. The next question is from Pangas7, who says, how important is Kareem Hunt in Kevin Stefanski's new offense? He's going to be very important. He is going to play a very vital role because he's going to take some carries away from Nick Chubb, as we discussed earlier. He's going to be that third wide receiver, but he's also probably going to go in for a lot of wide receiver screens and also be able to be out there to be a decoy on some 2 running back sets. So, yeah, Kareem Hunt and the versatility that he gives this Browns team and the depth that he gives this Browns team is going to be incredibly important to this offense. Next question comes from Slick Dog, who says, what's your stat predictions for Baker, OBJ, Jarvis, Chubb, Hunt, and Hooper? For Baker, I would say probably around 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns. I'm hoping 15 or less interceptions. Odell, I think he's going to have a 1,300-yard season. Jarvis is probably going to have a 1,000-yard season. I would say Nick Chubbs probably going to have about 1,300 yards. Kareem Hunt's probably going to have about, I would say if he gets 1,000 all-purpose yards, it's probably a big win for him. And then Austin Hooper, probably around 600 to 800 yards. I would go with him. So that's my stats prediction as far as yards go for those guys. Next question comes from Valentine Mello, who says, could you do a tier list for the current players in the Browns roster or all-time one? That's an interesting idea. I have to think about how to do it in a way it's going to be able to make long enough content. But yeah, sure. Another tier list video that could be on the way. Thank you for the idea, my man. The next question comes from C. Zachary Chad, who says, do you think Joe Burrow will beat rookie's passing touchdown record? Now, this is it seems like a much easier record to take down than it is. But when you look at the fact that Russell Wilson and Peyton Manning before Baker Mayfield were the only two that really came close, it starts to set in how hard that is, especially with the circumstances most first overall picks or early first round pick quarterbacks who are going to be starting a lot in a rookie year are in. So when it comes to Joe Burrow, I think he's in a situation where he could threaten that. Here, let me explain. His offensive line is bad, but it's getting better. Jonah Williams is coming back off of injury, so they're going to have him available. And then that wide receiving core, there's a lot of weapons. I mean, Joe Mixon's dangerous out the backfield. I don't know if they still have Gio Bernard. That's still an option too. A.J. Green, Alden Tate. That's a good enough combo. You add John Ross, a deep threat. T. Higgins in the draft also. So, yeah, they definitely have the tools and the weapons available to them to put Joe Burrow in a position to break that rookie touchdown record. It's going to be up to how the season goes down, one, how Joe Burrow is prepared, two, and if that offensive line can hold up. Because if it can't, then Joe Burrow won't touch that record. But if it can, yeah, I could see it. This next question comes from Professor Beardtastic, who says, thanks for all you do. Always look forward to your thoughts and insights. What current depth players do you see having high potential to help the team avoid a significant drop-off in the event of a first-team injury? Any with potential to surprise as better than first team? Andrew Billings. That's the guy I'm going to go with. Andrew Billings, I think, as we get into camp, hopefully, as we get into the season starting, hopefully, Andrew Billings is going to be somebody that is going to become more and more important. Why? It's because he can do what Larry Ogunjobi can't do as well, which is stop the run in the inside, take a couple double teams. The Browns desperately need some beef in the inside. I don't think they sufficiently filled that need on the defensive line. Still would like another couple pieces, but if Andrew Billings in the role he's going to have to play, it's going to be extremely important for the Browns' success. The next question from Elijah Cable, who says, do you think Delpit will start quickly, or do you think we should have taken Antoine Winfield instead? Given the offense that it looks like, the defense, my bad, the defense that the Browns are going to run, yeah, you probably should have taken Grant Delpit. That seems like the right pick, especially with what they're doing now, because it seems like less linebackers, which makes sense given the roster, more defensive backs. And if you're going to do that, you're going to want the bigger, stronger, faster safety in Grant Delpit. Now, he is a problem when it comes to the box, and I don't mean that in a good way. He's not a great tackler in the box, but he does free you up to be flexible because you do have Andy Sadeo, who is a good enough option if you could throw back there at just bare free safety and kind of have Grant Delpit roam around a little bit as kind of a pseudo linebacker. I hope their plan with Delpit isn't to use him like Jamal Adams is being used, because he's not Jamal Adams. I think he's somebody who could be more successful if he has a robber that frees him up to kind of jump around the field. So yeah, given the options that they had, back to the original question, and what they're going to run, Grant Delpit makes the most sense. Next question comes from McHugh, who says, where does all the nostalgia for Johnny Manziel come from for some Browns fans? I see plenty of people lamenting about what Johnny Manziel would do with this roster. Hold on, wait a minute. Who are these people? What Johnny Manziel would do with it? He was throwing to a prime Josh Gordon, and he did nothing with it. He made Josh Gordon worse, despite being his best friend and hanging out with him in all the right and wrong ways off the field. He still could not get passes to this dude. Like, I don't. If somebody's out there talking about Johnny Manziel would do with Odell and Jarvis, Johnny Manziel would do nothing but get suspended with Odell and Jarvis. Who are these people out here having nostalgia for Johnny Manziel? I know more people who have stopped watching the Browns, quite frankly, because of Johnny Manziel than people who have nostalgia for him. I have not seen these people, but if you have, let me see him, because I'm fascinated by that prospect. The next question comes from the Vault Dweller, who says, how well do you think the Patriots are going to do this year? I mean, they're the Patriots, so it's not over till it's over. But, dog, they running out Jarrett Stidham and Brian Hoyer. Like, am I supposed to act like that's going to be a first-place team? Like, I get they got Bill Belichick, and, look, betting against Bill Belichick is not smart. But if you had that situation in 31 other teams, everybody would be like, yo, that would be lucky to get 8-8. That situation in New England, and we kind of did the same thing in the NBA with Golden State. Once they got everything removed from them, we're like, well, they're still going to make the playoffs because they're Golden State. And now they got the first pick, and now they're the worst team in the NBA. So with the Patriots, I mean, that roster looks real 4-12 to me, but we'll see what happens. The next question comes from Giants Nation. It says, what's up, Quincy? My question for this week in your lovely Q&A. In your opinion, who is the biggest bust in NFL history and the biggest surprise draft pick in NFL history? The biggest bust, Jamarcus Russell. The biggest surprise, Justin Gilbert at 8 for the Browns. And by the way, the Browns, they ain't losing to the Giants this year. You can screen cap that. But that's all the questions for this week. Thank you guys for asking. And if you have questions, don't forget to ask them on Twitter or on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, ding that notification bell so you can be notified. But again, guys, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.